Welcome back to So Rare Edge. So we're going to look back at our way too early picks for game week 23, tell you who we got right, who we got wrong heading into the weekend. Players we were watching to see if they got any minutes. We got a lot of things going on in Atlanta. One of the more interesting ones is Clint Capella sat out Wednesday's game with an Achilles injury. He sat out with a similar injury a couple weeks ago. I thought, oh, maybe he's actually hurt. And then he came back the next game and he was fine. He actually played really well. Bruno Fernando is the guy that is the beneficiary if Capella does have a more serious injury and misses a little time. Last night he played 17 minutes, put up 24 points. He's L10 of 8 right now. It's going down. It's going to be 7 going into week 24. So for this weekend, he's an 8. Anytime he gets regular run, like 15 minutes, he put up 27 points. Normally, he's just less than a point a minute guy, but if he gets some normal run, I think he's capable of some decent scores, and his L10's obviously still really low, under 10. Sales market, I just picked up a 2023-2024 card, but if you have some ETH, which I do not right now, you can add his last year card for $1.61. I think it's a good flyer. If you find out Capella will not play on Friday, we've got a good schedule this weekend. With Capella off the floor, Bruno Fernando's usage goes from 0, like he hasn't even played when Capella's been in, to 21.9, so slightly above average. Per 36, we're looking at 17 points, 11 rebounds, 2.5 blocks, a steal. Now, he's not going to play 36. Okongwu's going to start, but if Fernando gets in that 15 to 18 minute range and he gets half of this production with an L10 of 8, or 7 next week, you're looking at a real find here. And if all those reasons weren't enough to get you interested, the Hawks have Indiana and Washington on a back-to-back Friday and Saturday, and then San Antonio next week, so 3 bottom 10 defenses in their next 3 games. If you're not interested in buying now and you want to wait and see if Capella is ruled out on Friday, if he is, I think you can just go ahead and grab Bruno Fernando. All right, let's run through some of the players we were watching this week to see if they got more minutes. Lester Quinones in Golden State got 8 minutes last night. It was a blowout. This was after Moses Moody had a nice first half and then hurt himself, had to leave the game. I think he strained his knee. He is probably doubtful this weekend, so Quinones could conceivably get some more run, but I am not trusting this one. He is a no-go for me this weekend. Corey Joseph, you can definitely play. If we look at his game logs, I think he has safe minutes, 17 minutes, 4 points. I think that's going to get better. Not a whole lot he can do that's worse than what he's been doing. His rolling L10 is getting lower and his minutes are on the rise. These are the kind of guys, even though his production is terrible, this is not a terrible player. He's going to have to play right now. So if you're looking for a low cap L10, you can definitely do worse than Corey Joseph at a 5. And for next week, he's looking like maybe a 4. He may be usable for a couple game weeks. Hard to recommend this guy, but I feel like he's probably got a 20 or 25 in him. This is an underdog guy for sure. I don't think you want to try him in contender because he could completely fall on his face, but at a 5 you can certainly throw him in an underdog. Free up some space for some better players to put with him. Hope he pops for 20 and then maybe you win your underdog. Another guy we wanted to see how he did this week was Trent Forrest in Atlanta. Wes Matthews has already been ruled out for Friday's game. Forrest played a decent amount of minutes last night, so 18 minutes last night. Put up 14.5 points. That L10 is 6 right now for this week. Looks like it's going to be going up to 8 for next week. I think you can use him with all their injuries. I think he's still going to play this weekend. DeAndre Hunter's not coming back. Wes Matthews is out. Garrison Matthews is out. Kind of have to play him as a backup wing, whether they want to or not. The 6 L10 level, I think this is a solid play. We looked at Jack Landale a little bit. He did not play this week, even with Tari Eason out. I think you can skip him for the weekend. JaVale McGee, splitting time with Alex Len. He got in a little bit last night, and in 4 minutes, he put up 12 points, which is crazy. How do you grab 7 rebounds in 4 minutes? He doesn't get a lot of run, but he's one of these productive guys that doesn't need a lot of run. Alex Len was good too. Alex Len got 15 minutes. Put up 25.5 at an 11. Do you want to take a flyer on him? I'm not sure who's going to play. That's the issue. I think you could try either of those guys. You might luck out. Talked about Doug McDermott at 7 being too low, and guess what? He played his 15 minutes. He hit a bunch of threes. He popped for a 20. He's still going to be a 7 this week before he goes back up to 9. If you have a McDermott, I think you can play him. Jeff Green's been playing a lot more minutes since Tari Eason went down. His season average of 16.3 has gone up into the low 20s the last number of games. Eason's out for another 2 weeks. He hasn't popped for a big one in a little while. Been pretty unproductive, but he is certainly capable of those games in the 20s. We've got 2 games on the road this weekend. I think he gets into both of those and probably plays around 20 again. You could take a chance on him. I like some other guys better this week. Talked about Marcus Sasser and Robert Covington. Covington's still out. I don't expect him back this weekend. He would be a stash play. Sasser's actually been getting some more minutes since Cade Cunningham's injury. Last 2 games, he's had 16, 18 minutes. I'm hoping he gets back into the 20s, gets more into a regular role. They have been getting blown out a lot, so there's a chance he just plays a lot of minutes in a blowout, but he's still off the bench. He's not starting or anything. Killian Hayes has been pretty bad. I think there's a chance he starts to get a few more minutes. These numbers up into the 20s, maybe even the low 30s if he can get some more minutes. You can try him. I think there are probably better plays. Drew Eubanks' last couple games have fallen right along with his season average around 16 minutes. That L10 of 11 still a little low on him. He gets Portland this weekend. That's his former team from last year. Last time he played Portland had 23.7, so one of his better games of the season. I think there's something to that whole revenge game thing. I would expect him to be pretty good this weekend. That is their only game, but it's a good one. All right, Isaiah Jackson stepped in for an injured Jalen Smith. Took the backup minutes last night. He ended up with 17 minutes, put up 25 points. 13 is just too low. If Jalen Smith is out again this weekend, I would say Jackson is definitely deployable. Kevin Herter rolled his ankle. He did get back in the starting lineup. We were looking for that, but he rolled his ankle last night, and now he's probably out for a little while. Killian Hayes had 12 assists last night, but he's just not a good player. I think 13 is still really low for him. He's getting the minutes. We look at his rotations. The game Cade went out, he got 25 minutes, and then the 2 without Cade, 31 and 32, so well above his season average. He's probably going to continue to play regardless of the fact that he's not very good. And I would expect him to easily be beating 13. He's going to be a popular play this weekend. I told you I wasn't sure about Xavier Tillman because his minutes had been all over the place. 3, 12, 23, then 28 last game. They just cut Bismack Biyombo out of the blue, so that opens up more minutes for Tillman. Tillman played 28 last game. With the extended minutes, he popped for 30 points. He's a 13 over the weekend, going up to a 14. This is a guy I think you can use multiple weeks. Najee Marshall, still not a ton of minutes, but still decent production. Put up 20 the last 2 games. He's still a 13. Well, if I liked Nikola Jovic last weekend, I really like him now. Played in both games at home for 21 and then 32 minutes last night, 33 and 34 points. He's a 13 this weekend. Definitely in play. The Heat have 2 games. They get Orlando at home and then they get Charlotte at home. I think he continues to play. I think they're just giving him a run here. See what he can do, and he's been playing well. I love this. I didn't know that they would be going to him at this point in his career as a 20-year-old. I actually bought one of his cards, flipped it for twice what I paid for it. Now I've rebought in. I'm surprised he's not more expensive already. I think you're going to be able to use him for a couple of game weeks. This one coming up, though, at 13, I think is a real value. Kayvon Looney, I think I'm staying away from for right now. Did you know in the first 14 games of the season, he had double-figure rebounds 8 times, and in the last 22 games, he's only done it once. That's trending the wrong direction. We'll see what happens when Draymond gets back, but I'm going to avoid him for this weekend. Marcus Morris had a couple of nice games with Joel Embiid out. Embiid looks like he's probably back on Friday, so Morris probably goes back to the bench. Like I always say about Morris, he has a regular role. He gets regular minutes. Even if Embiid plays, he's not a terrible play, but he's certainly better without Embiid. In those 2 games without Embiid this week, he put up a 24 and a 39. If Embiid is ruled out ahead of Friday night's game, Philly's got a nice matchup against Sacramento. It's their only game of the weekend. You roll the dice with that if Embiid is out. DeLon Wright is a solid backup point guard on a lousy team. His minutes are pretty steady in that 15 to 17 range. If we look at game logs, this 38 is coming off the books. That's his best game of the season. So this 16 L10 is going to go down pretty significantly. He's probably going to be in that 12 or 13 range after this weekend. So you'll probably be hearing about him on next week's Way Too Early Picks. I'm going to call it here on the updates. All right, obviously with Ja going down for the season, Bane becomes more valuable. All those secondary guys on Memphis get a little bump. With Halliburton being out for at least a couple weeks in Indiana, hopefully you picked up some TJ McConnells, maybe Andrew Nemhard's, but I prefer McConnell. He's just more productive, even if he's coming off the bench. Appreciate you all watching. If you are a subscriber and you are notified when new videos drop, you will notice that one's going to drop right around lock time tomorrow night. That will be for the next game week. get you a little head start on that. Appreciate all the subscribers. Thanks for all the likes, and please comment anything you have questions about. I'll be happy to take care of those. We'll see you on Friday night